Hey, everybody, welcome back. How's everybody doing? Tonight, we're going to be talking about why society has to collapse. I know a lot of people always worry about that, but let me hop in the chat, see who all's in here, and then we'll go from there. Thank you all for being here, all 10 of you. Savage Leaves first with the thumbs up. Awesome. Dan Phillips, Pilgrim, Michigan Outpost. Pilgrim. Okay, you got something for Pilgrim. Email. Pilgrim, he's got an email he wants to send you. Teresa Buchanan. Forrest in the house. Dome Seeker. Single Dad. Juan Robles. Hello. Sherman Sales. Glad everybody can be here tonight. So everybody's always worried about societal collapse. Oh my God. Grid down. Society's going to come to a screeching halt. And you act like that's a bad thing. You act like that's like the end of the world as we know it. Well, the world as we know it's kind of, frankly, it's kind of a shitty place. So, at least our society here in the United States and a lot of other places around the world. If you didn't get a chance this morning to catch out the Radioactive podcast with Prepper Nation and Backwoods, I recommend going check that out. It was a good video, lots of good information. But it's what got me thinking as I was listening to it driving along. They discussed a lot about all the things that happen, and nobody does anything. Nobody does anything. If they do something, then you're going to be in trouble with the law for this or that, depending. And that is exactly why society needs to collapse. If it doesn't collapse, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And eventually, someday, hopefully in the not so distant future, it all comes crumbling down, whether it be EMP or whatever. Society, as we know it, needs to end in order to rebuild itself and to repair itself. Right now, we all operate underneath the system in some degree or another. A little less for some, a little more for others. But the system isn't your system. It's not. It's not there to benefit you. It is there as a control mechanism for you. Now, the only way, people are like, well, we could, fix it. People that think we can fix America, people that think, oh, well, we just got to get in the right people, are very naive at best. Blatantly disregarding facts. Just look at society. You cannot. There is no. When a system is corrupt, you can't just go in and uncorrupt it. You don't just say, "Oh no, it's no." When a company has a corrupt board, they have to get rid of everybody. Everybody. When they have, if a military has a bunch of a platoon or a battalion full of traitors that turn on them, they don't say, "Oh well, we'll take this one, not that one. That one's okay." And we don't know. You take them all out. You eliminate the entire problem because you'll have those that are active in the corruption, and then those that are complicit, and those that simply turn a blind eye or just don't do anything. Whether actively participating in the corruption or simply choosing not to do anything about it, they're all the same. They're all to a lesser degree here than there. It doesn't matter. Stop worrying about the lesser degrees. Oh well, they're just doing their job. They didn't say anything about it, but it's not their fault because these people. No, it's their fault. They're complicit. Too many people. Well, they're complicit. Let's look at the border. Let's look at the border right now. Everybody wants to blame Joe Biden and the Biden administration. But very few, there are some, but very few will actually say, what about the Border Patrol? What about CBP or Custom Border? Yeah, CBP. What about the officers on the ground? Oh, well, they're just following orders. So were the fucking Nazis at Auschwitz. The guy that opened the gate and closed the gate. The guy that all his job was to do was to open the train car. Just as guilty as the person flipping the switch to let the Xylon B into the gas chamber. Because if one didn't do his job, the other ones couldn't do theirs. But everybody wants to, oh, well, they're just, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. No, they can say no. They can say no. It violates the Constitution. It violates the law. So I'm not going to participate. But everybody wants to give them a pass, and you see it throughout society until we as society, we as patriots change our thought processes and acknowledge that the enforcers are just as bad, if not worse, than the people that implemented in the first place, that created in the first place. Then we're doomed for failure. All right. It's going to continue to get worse. Because it doesn't matter what law, think of a law. It doesn't matter what the law is. It doesn't matter what law a politician creates in Washington, D.C. If the guy on the ground won't enforce it, it has no power. Our problem is not our problem. One of our problems are the people in D.C., the people in our state houses that create laws that are abominations to the Constitution and to God. Those people are one of the problems. Our bigger problem are the people on the ground enforcing laws that are known or should be known by just common sense that they are unconstitutional, illegal, immoral laws. But everyone, or not everyone, but a lot of people in the conservative community, I guarantee there's 32 people in here. I guarantee that at least 10, a third of you say back the blue. Say, I back the blue. And if you do, you are a fool. Whether you like it or not, facts are facts. You are supporting your oppressors. Everybody wants to complain about, oh, well, the Second Amendment says thou shalt, shall not infringe. No politician comes and arrests someone for violating the Second Amendment or a firearms law. Not one politician in the history of ever has shown up at someone's house and arrested them for violating a firearms law. Police have, ATF has, FBI have, all these agencies, local sheriff's departments, local police departments, they all do what they know they're not supposed to do. And then a lot of people in our community say, well, if he hadn't have broken the law, any law repugnant to the Constitution, any law repugnant to the Constitution is null and void. So they're not breaking the law. Literally, the officers on the ground are breaking the laws, but we don't back the people. I don't know if you guys remember the Bundy Ranch. Big standoff between local rancher, a bunch of militia types came in to help. 3%ers came in to help. Oath keepers came in to help. And the federal government got stood down. They were outmanned and outgunned. It was all over the news a few years back. You ever follow what happened after that? The courts ruled that the federal government was in the wrong on that. Why? Because they were put, not because they wanted to, but because they were put in a position where they did not have the monopoly of power, the monopoly of force. When you see the other day, there was a police standoff because a guy in south of North Carolina, I can't remember which, but Somerville, North Carolina, maybe. And if you actually look at it, it was a police stand. It became a police standoff. The guy ended up getting killed, but it was because he was someone who wasn't supposed to be possessing a firearm, who got pulled over, and of course he got pulled over, knows that he's going to be searched. So he, I guess, hit the police car, took off, ran to a building, into a house, and then basically had a police standoff. The cops, the shall not be infringed. Okay, there are no such thing in this country as people who can't have firearms. There's not. They are. There's dead people. Okay. Shall not means shall not. So the fact that they make illegal laws that violate the Constitution, and then everybody says, "Well, you got to support it because that's the law. They made these acts and this stuff that goes against the Constitution." It defies logic and common sense. When you see one of these standoffs like that, and you're like, "Oh, well, yeah, this guy was in possession of this," or "Oh, this guy decided he wasn't paying taxes, and so now the Fed showed up at his house." If we supported those people like they did at the Bundy Ranch, you would start to make a dent in corruption. All right, you'd start to make a dent. When, as I said in the Radioactive podcast today, well, you have these teachers at school or principals at school that say, well, you can teach these kids, we're going to teach these kids about the LGBT or the trans this and trans that. Well, it doesn't matter what the law says if the law is unjust and ungodly. Go in, crack a head, give them an option, say, stop, final warning. And the police will say, well, you can't tell them that. Then you're the enemy too. You are the enemy. I don't care if you wear a badge. I don't care what the badge says. If you are allowing this or standing by and allowing this because it's their right, then you're part of the problem. You are the enemy. Period, point blank. And until we as a society, as God-fearing people, start recognizing that law enforcement is the problem when you're enforcing this bureaucracy, the satanic laws. Oh, well, we'll arrest you if you knock the head off of that satanic statue over there in the courthouse. Well, then you are a servant of Satan, and you get what's coming to you. Again, the lawmakers, the judges, the enforcers, they're all part of the problem. They're all part of the problem. We need to get back to a point. We need a damn inquisition and a witch hunt, if you will, and anyone who backs evil, regardless of how they want to justify it, anyone who backs evil, just make them go away. Make them go away. It's not that difficult. It really isn't. Count Vlad. Let me put on my spectacles, not my buys, but my readers. Count Vlad. They're either brainwashed or chasing that pension. It doesn't matter if they're brainwashed or chasing a pension. Either way, at this point in time, we need to stop making excuses for people. Stop saying, well, they're just following orders. They're just doing their job. They've got a lot invested. I don't give a shit why they're serving evil. I don't care. The fact that they are needs to stop. And if they won't, we need to make them. Now, I fully expect this video to be taken down or blocked or banned in some way, shape, or form. Yes, window liquor. Cancer is a cancer. And what do you do with cancer? You cut it out or you poison it. Either way, the cancer dies. So then the next time somebody says back the blue, just know what side they're on. Know what side they're on. They're not on the side of God, because they're the same ones who will arrest people for preaching during COVID. They're the same ones who will arrest people for protesting outside of an abortion clinic. They're the same people who will, infringe on people who use their Second Amendment right. It's given to them by God, not by the government. All right. Yes, the Blue Line they're domestic terrorist gang. They're powerful too. They've got a lot of backing. The blue was good in Virginia. Well, maybe some, maybe some. And that's the thing. Keep an eye on it. Keep an eye to see if they're good in your area. That's fine, but don't blindly back a whole all across the board. I'm not. I would never put a back the blue. I would never put a back this or back that in my window of my car or anywhere, anytime, because no group is 100% that's made up of different people from different cultures, different identities. No group is 100% good. All right. And we need to find the ones that are mostly good and force them to weed out those that aren't amongst them. And if they don't, then they're just as bad. They're just as bad. All right. If we see people attempting to make unjust laws, we need to deal with that. Deal with that. Okay. When you see someone, when we see a member of a government saying, well, we're going to create this firearms legislation, that person needs dealt with. Period. That's it. That's it. It's that simple. All right. You don't need to. You don't try to. Oh, well, we'll take them to court. And you don't fight them in their system. No. You shock and awe them. You don't take a problem that you have here and say, well, I'm going to sit it over here, because the problem is still on your table. You crush it. You grind it up. You sweep it up, you burn it, and you throw it in the trash so that it can never come back again. That's how you handle a problem. Not a lot of people in this country have the balls to even speak like this, let alone actually take action. But it starts with speech. If you can start talking openly about it, not just typing things in a thread, but if you can start actively, openly talking at work, at the mall, when you're shopping, when you meet new people, talk about it. Start opening eyes. Get people to acknowledge that they are just slaves to the system and that the system must come down. Yes, laws are either just or unjust, and we need to get rid of the unjust ones. And when we see an unjust law, we need to stomp the shit out of whoever is trying to enforce it. And then work our way up from there. Who's trying to enforce it? Who's trying to prosecute people for it? Who's making it? And we need to hammer these sons of bitches into oblivion. That's just the way it is. If you don't, it's only going to get worse. Viva la Boogaloo, savagely says. I mean, it's true. And that's why the whole system needs to come down. Because at this point, it is so corrupt that the best thing to happen to this country would be an EMP that shut down all the power grid. That'd be the best thing. A few weeks, a month of Mad Max, as people in the chat like to say, and a purge, and then rebuild from a good, solid foundation that was the original Constitution as it was written, without all these stupid amendments that grant privileges to people that are undeserving. I mean, think about this. A lot of people are like, oh, well, like at the border right now, well, we let these many people in and they have, they have constitutional, let me throw something out there. Any alien, even if they come in legally, all right, let's say my kid's mom gets a green card, waits in line for 2.5 years, comes over. Under the Constitution, she has no rights. Under the Constitution, has no rights. Anybody come across the border, unless you are a citizen of these United States, you have no rights under the Constitution. The Constitution does not apply to you. And now a lot of people, there's going to be people in here right now that are going, what? That's crazy. Nuh-uh. The very preamble of the Constitution says this Constitution is for us and our progeny. That's who it covers. American citizens. That's it. That's it. It doesn't cover anyone else. If you go by the letter of the law, it covers no one else. Root Seller says, I don't want my kids to have to suffer through it, but we definitely have to start over from the bottom up. Yeah. I don't, it's not, I don't want my kids to suffer through it, but I would rather my kids suffer through a collapse now than be oppressed and enslaved by the system later. Does that make sense? Yes, Washburn Billy, they finally brought the war home to us. Oh, it's been a long time coming. They've been whittling away at the Constitution since it was created. I mean, think about it. The moment they got one of the first attacks on the Constitution was giving voting rights to every person, every man, because I know it went to men first. Every man. That was the first attack, taking it from a republic to a full-blown democracy. Because under the original system, you had to own land. It didn't matter if it was an acre, a half an acre, or 1,000 acres, but you had to own land. You had to contribute to society by paying taxes. And if you own land, to this day, if you own land, guess what you pay? You pay into the system. You pay taxes. All right. Well, when we've got, let's say, what do we have? Something around an estimated 40 million Americans on public assistance. If you're on public assistance, you don't let junkies decide to vote on how many drugs they're going to get. No, that's insanity. The system needs torn down. It is broken. It's not even broken. It is rotting like a cesspool. You know, when they call it a swamp, how many of you have actually spent time in a swamp? I have, lots of time. Swamps are full of just bacteria and rot. All right. Yes, it's a natural cycle of life, the decay. But that's why DC is a swamp, because it's full of rot and decay, decrepit matter, disease, vermin. And there's going to have to come a time when we just get rid of it. And you get rid of it. And you don't have to drain a swamp. But whatever the pesky critter is that's bothering you, I mean, come on, we've all seen swamp people. That pesky old alligator, he keeps bothering you. Well, sometimes you put a piece of chicken out, lure him in, and shoot him in the head with a 22 in the sweet spot. This thing. Yeah, pilgrim term limits and lobbying. First, and everybody wants to say that. Everyone wants to say that. But you're not going to get it. Ever. Why? Because none of them will limit their own power. None of them will limit their own financial gain. They won't do it. So when people say, well, if we can just get term limits, well, you know what? If I can just get a fucking rocket ship to fly to the moon, well, then I could just build, me a little bubble house on the moon. What if? What if leprechauns live at the end of the rainbow? I'm not trying to be mean to you, Pilgrim, or pick on you, but it's literally like you can go there. That is so frustrating. That gets me spun up like how Backwoods got spun up today, because you're hoping on fairy dust. You're hoping Peter Pan's going to fly through the window, or Peter Pan and the little Tinkerbell's going to fly and put some magical dust on your head and fly you off to Never Never Land. They don't limit their own power, and they won't take money out of their own pocket. There you go, Dynamite. The only way to get term limits is to start from scratch. We tear it down. And then that Constitution Foundation is the first thing. We have lived long enough to see where the founding fathers made their mistakes. They couldn't envision the size that we would become. I mean, there was just 13 little colonies. See, they probably didn't envision us wiping out 99% of the native population. They probably didn't fathom that we would actually do that. Just go across from sea to the other sea and just kill and displace almost every inhabitant. They probably couldn't fathom that. Okay. So now we can see where, oh, well, we need to fix that part. We need to limit the power even more. We need to make, here's another good one. Put into the new constitution. After this is all done, let's build a new constitution based off of the old constitution. And let's put in something in there like anyone who enacts or attempts to enact or write or put forth legislation that is blatantly unconstitutional will be put to death. Guess what? You'll have a whole lot less lawyers sending up bureaucratic bullshit to the House and the Senate. Because if somebody looks at it and goes, yeah, I'm not putting my name on this, because the minute that other people see this, I'm going to have my head in a guillotine right beside you. And it never comes. And if something does come, we just look at the name. Who signed it? Who signed it? Who voted to bring it to the floor? All right, you see that? Put your heads over there. Off with them, baby. Put them on pikes out front. Yes, we're funding our own invasion. Tit in a ringer, Robert Winslow says. Black Flag Contingent, thank you for being here. D. Khalik, thank you. Oh, D. Khalik, thank you. I went to the posted P.O. box today, and I greatly appreciate that. That will definitely help out, especially since not working right now because of what happened. But yes, we can't fight the system in their system. That makes no sense. To think that it would make any type of sense. What is the definition of insanity? Attempting the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. Literally the definition of insanity. So if you think that we can vote them out, I mean, we've been doing that for 2 decades or two centuries, 2.5 centuries. Hadn't worked so far. What are we going to do? Give another 250 years? You think it's going to get better or worse between now and then? Yes, it's called treason. Yes, treason. There's lots of treasonous shit going on, and and you see all these. I love, especially my Marines. My Marine buddies. If you're a Marine, I love you. But my Marines, they're the ones that are all, once a Marine, always a Marine. I'm forever a Marine. Yeah, well then people are violating the shit out of your Constitution. What you gonna do about it? What you doing about it? Oh, my oath don't expire. My oath expired. They stopped paying me. The oath of enlistment, my enlistment ended. It was an oath of enlistment. It expired. But if you firmly believe that yours didn't, the only oath I have that doesn't expire is my oath to God. If an organization becomes corrupt, then no, I don't have to swear an oath to it because that organization no longer exists. But if you firmly believe that your oath is firmly in place and you believe that you swore to defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic, boy, you are awful slacking on the domestic part. If you swore to meet the enemies of America in armed combat, kind of lacking in that section, aren't you? Now, I'm not just trying to pick on you. I'm just trying to make you think. Think about where you actually stand, what you're willing to do. Now, was it all just bullshit? Or is it, I'm only going to fight the 100% winnable ones that I know are in foreign lands when I got the full backing of, U.S. military support and got air support and artillery and tanks and bombs and shit. Are you willing to actually, I don't know, see somebody attacking the Constitution over and over and over again in a city or a state? And are you actually willing to take action and stop them and make an example? Oh, I doubt it. Not a lot will. There's one or two here and there, one or two that will. And they always get a bad rap. Oh, this guy was crazy. He was insane. Yeah, well, say what you want. I call him Patriot. What happened to work for you at Warlord? What happened to work? What happened at work? Oh, I got kicked out of the oil field again for a coolant line rupturing on an engine on a semi truck and dumping onto the oil field's property, which the EPA doesn't like. They get a big fine for that shit. But apparently, that was my fault that it ruptured, and well, they got the lowest guy down gets to blame. So, I'm not allowed back on that company property. My oath is by blood, 9th generation son of the American Revolution. Then what are you? Black flag. Actions. Actions. Got to take action. Got to take action. Train people up. Something. We're going to require action in the future because it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. Now, I know a lot of people are like, well, that sounds like the good. And you don't have to say it as long as you are. If you know in your heart you're taking action, that's what matters. Because one thing you don't want to do is broadcast your action. Loose lips sink ships. All right. I'm just trying to offer encouragement that somebody out there supports you if you do. Okay. Where was I going with that? But I know a lot of us, they kind of roped in the Back the Blue. And it was great. It was great. Back the Blue was a psyop, whether you know it or not. Back the Blue. I mean, think about that. Before Antifa and BLM started calling for, at the moment they started calling for defunding the police, that is basically when the Back the Blue movement popped up, sprang up. Well, if Antifa's against this and BLM's against this, then we must be for it. Polar opposites, right? Not everybody who has an idea on that side is wrong. Not everybody is. What do you actually need police for? Take a report? Name, if somebody can put in the chat somewhere, a few times this month where police stopped a crime before it happened. Stopped it before it happened. Not responded to it after it's already taken place. Because statistically, that's what law enforcement does. With the exception of writing tickets, chasing down speeders, delivering court summons, things like that. Other than revenue generation, they're good at catching bad guys when it's revenue generation related. But when it's not revenue generation, how many times has a law enforcement officer stopped a robbery that was currently in progress, stopped a rape from happening, stopped a murder from happening? Very, very rarely. Very rarely. Because law enforcement's job is to respond to crime, not prevent crime. They respond to it after the fact, after it's already happened. So if they don't prevent crime, why do we need so many of them? Enforcement, revenue generation. That's why. That's the truth. That's the truth. Do you think if your local police department was cut in half Do you honestly think crime would just shoot through the roof? Why would it? Why would it? People don't break into your home because, oh, well, I'm afraid the police are going to show up and catch me. They don't break into your home because they're afraid you're going to shoot them in the face. Hmm? If somebody wants to do something, they're going to do it. Even if somebody wants to break into your home, most burglaries, burglars are caught after the burglary, not during it, after, by police coming and examining the scene, figuring out who did what, seeing who stole what, where the shit popped up again. Most burglaries are solved after the fact, not prevented. So what are you talking about, Dynamite? I'm not tracking on that. Yeah, they don't stop kids from being murdered in Texas, or anywhere else. And I didn't actually see what, I'm sure there's something on the news that you're alluding to. Give me a call after this stream and fill me in on what I might have missed. They keep honest people honest. Who the hell is they? No, you're either honest or you're not honest. And other people, again, they just show up after the fact and enforce. I mean, if you look at the bulk of what a police officer does in a day, the bulk, it's in some way, shape, or form connected to revenue generation for the state or the federal government. That's a fact. You can't argue with it. You can try, but it's falling on deaf ears because I know the truth. We have huge slave labor. Our country incarcerates more of its population than any other country on the planet. Think about that. 1 in 7 males. All right. 1 in 7. By the DOJ statistics, 1 in 7 males will go to jail or prison in their lifetime. 1 in 7. That is insane. Yes, Scott Bashaw. We are the first responder. You are your first responder. Police are always second responders. Oh, yeah. Dynamite says, no, they sat outside and stopped parents from saving the kids. Talking about that school shooting in Texas. Yes, I remember that. They were stopping parents. And finally, a couple Border Patrol agents were like, screw this, we're going in, and forced their way in. I'm sorry, but if there was a situation like that at my kid's school and I show up on scene, first off, I ain't coming alone. And second off, may God have mercy on anyone between me and my child. Anyone. I don't care if you're the bad guy inside or a good guy outside. When me and my boys show up, you better make like the Red Sea in part. Because if not, you will be caught up in the wake. I would have blowed through those. When I say blowed through those officers, I don't mean running. Yeah, I'd have been moving quick, but there'd have been a gunfight outside and then another one inside. That's all I'm saying. Because at that point they are complicit in attempting to kill my offspring, and I'll go to my maker with a smile on my face, taking out anybody that tries to do that. Oh, but yes. And I know a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people are like, well, I got a friend who's a cop. Well, good for your friend. Better keep him in line. Better make sure he's keeping other people in line. make sure that he has the balls to speak up whenever, if he knows anybody that's corrupt or violating laws. Make sure that he's not going to enforce any laws. Talk to him. I say, hey, if they tell you to do this, what will you do? If you meet a guy that falls under this criteria, what would you do? If his answer is anything other than what the Constitution says, no, he's an enemy. And property taxes are too high. Property taxes are too high. That's why they got all those, they love that money. They love that money. Don't pay that money and watch how fast those 3 police stations descend upon you. You know what I mean? Scott Michelle, thank you. Thank you. And Black Flag says, I welded for 20 years and am now 48. Do you think the young men in my area are jumping at the opportunity to stand as ward or watch for our country? I doubt it. We've slacked off as a culture. We don't raise warriors anymore, for the most part. There are still pockets. I'm raising mine to be warriors, to fight for those that can't, and those that are right, and to teach them to be able to identify the difference between those that are right and those that aren't. But we've lost a lot of that. I mean, like I said, a lot of it comes back to, and here we're going to go back to biblical shit, stuff. Pardon me. I get riled up sometimes. But when those crusaders came back and their government saw that they were hardened veterans that would die for their God, that's when you see Christianity starting to tone down. Because they know if they can do that kind of damage over there, they can do it over here. And that's when you started to see this more inclusive, to calm down, to turn the other cheek and, be a little gentler. And turn the other cheek, just guard your injured side. Don't let them hit, don't let that snake bite you twice. All right. That side's wounded, get it the hell out of the way, prepare to return fire. $3,800 a year property taxes for one of our 10 acres in Central Oklahoma. That's ridiculous. I mean, in 10 years, it's $38,000. Think about that. It's $38,000 in 10 years. Yeah, that's crazy. And then when you think about it over 20 years, 30 years, then you pass it to your kids, and then they got to pay for it. They got to pay an inheritance tax, and then pay the taxes on there. It's insane. Comes a point in time when we have to draw a line and just stop. And then when people show up, they just disappear. They just disappear. And then they'll send more people to find those people and then disappear the shit out of them. And then they'll say, oh, shit, then we better send a whole bunch. And you either be ready for that whole bunch with a whole bunch of your own, or you skedaddle. But you make a point. All right? Eventually, you have to go up and knock the head off that snake. You start knocking the heads off of people that send the people stop being sent. There's that. But a lot of people have a lot to lose. And I get that. But if you're not willing to lose a little now, then you're just sacrificing everything for your offspring and your grandkids and your great grandkids. You're throwing them as the sacrifice. That's what you're sacrificing to them. And the older I get, the less I give a damn about the system. The older I get, the less I have to lose. Oh, like what's that meme? When the older you get, like the less life in prison worries you. I'm not 100% prepared to meet my maker because I'm not sure I've done enough yet. I'm not going to debate that stuff right now. But if it comes to the choice of me meeting my maker and making the world better for my kids, or me waiting a little while, because we're all going to die someday. But if I just go, oh, I get to live an extra 10 or 15 years, but my kids are going to be in servitude. No, not mine. Not mine. I'll take out whoever and whatever I can to make sure that don't happen. Yeah, I got chest seals in my kit too. Bleeding us dry, but chest seals will be needed at some point. Yeah. There you go, Romans. We've got to find those loopholes. Listen, every federal, any law enforcement, anybody paid with tax dollars, we need to rein that shit in. We need to rein that shit in. Or they, cops, lawyers who get federal funding, judges, politicians, all the way up. It needs. Look, I'm becoming an anarchist, basically. We need to just burn the whole system down because the system's evil. It's evil, and it won't stop unless we stop it. I take that back. There's someone else who can stop it, but when they stop, when he has to step in, well, we all lose. We all lose, because just as I sit here and say, the cop on the ground is just as guilty as the lawmaker that made the illegal law. The man upstairs is going to say, you're just as guilty because you didn't do shit to stop it. I had to step in. So you're just as guilty. And if that doesn't make sense to you, I don't know what to tell you. Oh, I feel you, Decleet. I'm ready to, come out of her, my people. I am ready to come way the hell out of her. Way out. And, travel, have a gun will travel, like a mercenary, but a mercenary for God. Just travel from a good spot where there's good people that believe and reject all the LGBT trans woke bullshit and all the other stuff. And then just travel periodically. Go to bad places, take care of some bad people, come on back and relax. Then go do it again. Bernard, I knew it. A lot of minds believe that it's bad to be I believe you're saying anarchist. But there comes a point when, there have to be laws. But when the laws you have are totally corrupt, the only way to destroy them is through anarchy, and then reestablish just godly laws. Okay? Yeah. Yeah, just don't take your phone with you. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no. You don't do that. You cannot do that because those are only lost people. No, I don't know if you're talking to somebody else, but if you're talking to me, if you are a servant of the devil, if you are aiding in his cause, what's one of the laws we have? You cannot give aid or comfort to the enemies of the United States. Or you are found guilty of treason and it's punishable by death. Well, if you give aid or comfort to the fallen one, it is an act of treason against God, and you can be found punishable by death. So there's that. Natural law would be God's law, But I believe we want to tear it down. We need to tear the system down and rebuild it. And I've never heard them called arcs before. That's a new phrase for me. But yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing to me that people just, oh well, that's illegal, so we can't do it. No, listen. Okay, there's another thing. John, I love you if you're watching this. Love your work, you and Backwoods. But you said you had a slip up today. You said there's nothing you can do about it. You can't do anything about it because it's illegal. There's a difference between can't and won't. Okay? And can't and can. A blind man can't see. Okay? A man can't have a baby come out of him. Okay? A woman can't have functioning testicles. Okay? But just because a law says you can't do something, when someone says, "Oh, you can't do that," it's because it's illegal. Then there literally would be no school shootings because they can't do it. Oh no, you can do stuff that's against the law. You just have to be willing to deal with the consequences after the fact. Now, if it's an unjust law, by all means, I fully encourage you to break unjust laws, unconstitutional laws and orders. I fully encourage that. Correct, Count Vlad. At this point, you're either with God and life itself, or you ain't. You're either on one side or the other. And that's what you'll have a lot of people. Well, I don't believe. Then you pick the side. Then you pick the side, whether you like it or not. You pick the side. There's good, the laws of God, and there's evil and not the laws of God. And if you try to be somewhere in between, then you're automatically for that one because you're not making a stand. If you don't make a stand against it, then you're for it. And if that hurts your feelings, don't know what to tell you. That's a you problem, not a me problem. What's the difference between all that? You're talking to Washburn. What's the difference between defense and offense? The best defense is good offense. Root Solar says the fall is inevitable at this point. It doesn't matter who is elected. It's just a matter of when. I know, and we wish it would speed the hell up. Because right now we're doing the frog in a pot, boiling away. Because the longer they can stretch it out, the less of us there are to resist. Because as they get more children and influence them as they grow up, and the patriotic types fade away and start down, because the lefties and the subservient to the system reproduce faster than we do. Hold on, let me hop in here. Let's see. No, Bernard, is the difference between murder and self-defense. Not entirely. No. No. So Washington Billy, quick question. Just a quick question. Are all the soldiers that have ever served this country that killed someone overseas, are they all murderers? Because I promise you, they weren't defending themselves. They were on the offensive. The fact that they weren't here by proxy puts them on the offense. So if offensively going into war makes you a murderer, then every service member that has ever served, that took a life or aided in taking a life, is a murderer. That's just logic. That's just logic. Oh, no, 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 no. That's not murder because of cause. Well, that wasn't the question. The question was, what's the difference between defense and offense? You can go on offense. See, you just proved it. You can go on offense and it not be murder. Hmm? You can go on the offense and fight against evil and it not be murder. I mean, there's lots of times when God commanded people to go in and wipe out entire groups of people, killing in the name of, as they like to say. Uh, must be an offense. Yeah. Uh, but yeah, you know, and like I said, over and over again, they're not going to change this. The system's their system. It's there to enrich and empower them and enslave you. Uh, it wasn't originally. It wasn't originally. You can see how it's been twisted over the years. And if we can get back to, if we can wrestle the power, the control, the force away from them, uh, then we can redo it. We can start over again. And now bear in mind, there would have to be a purge. You cannot allow everybody to remain in society. You can give the option to live in, to leave in peace or to leave in pieces. But you'd have, this coexist shit. Well, you're a church of, you're the temple of Satan, and you have a right to live next door to me, and yet no, you don't. We don't want you here. No, you go away. If you don't go away, we'll make you go away. Yes, Oliver Rust, you are correct. Killing is different than murder. Murder has intent, nasty, evil intent. I agree. But we're going to have to get our hands dirty sooner rather than later. And if we don't, then we deserve everything that's going to come down the pike at us. Everything. Because not only are we failing our progeny, as it says in the Constitution, our progeny, but we're failing our God. I know a lot of people aren't going to like to hear it. I'm not failing God. Okay. Lie to yourself, because he ain't buying your shit, and neither am I. Okay. Are you prepping up for battle? Are you ready to go toe to toe with boys in blue? If you're not mentally prepared to go toe to toe with a peace officer, you're behind the curve. You're behind the curve, because as we've seen, not all, but most will just do what they're told. And the ones that won't either don't last long, or they just look away from the ones that do just do what you're told, which makes them just as bad. All right. We're going to call it at 1 hour. Is there anything else you want to put in the chat before we go away? I'm not one to do violence. I want to preach peace. Don't get me wrong. I will not go out without something to say. Please understand what I'm saying. Oh, yeah. I mean, you can preach peace. I mean, lots of people have in the past. I mean, they all ended up dead. But you can preach it. Earth is flat, just kind of level mostly. Okay, Red Dawn readiness. See, Red Dawn readiness. That sounds like somebody who's like, I'll go toe to toe with a cop. I don't give a damn. Remember, you say your prayers and ask God for guidance, that your hand and your aim be faster than your enemies. All right, regardless of what uniform they're wearing, whether it be a Chinese camo uniform with the Chinese star on the shoulder, or it'd be a blue uniform with a badge on it. Or well, most of the days, most cops nowadays, it's all blacked out, black uniform with combat boots and attack vest and all that other shit. Remember, bulletproof vests. Tactical tip: bulletproof vests stop bullets. So you aim for the face or the crotch. Huh? Just below that belly button. Most bulletproof vests, when fitted properly, come just at below, just a hair below the belly button, just a hair. That way you can still bend over them, stuff like that. So that spot just below the belly button, all the way down to your down goodies, it's a nice soft area that you can pump lead into. Just saying, and normally that's like irreparable damage there, and you can bleed out quick. Just saying. And the face, this is not armored. All right, get some bulletproof spectacles on. No. So just keep that in mind. Yes, I did a video about that last year. I don't know if you were here yet, Red Dawn Readiness. It was either last year or the year before. I can't remember. I was doing one about target acquisition, and I was talking about you need to focus when you're at the range and you're shooting. You need to focus on face shots and groin shots on your silhouettes. Everybody trains on shooting center mass. Most people we know use body armor, right? So why would you train? Muscle memory. You develop muscle memory. If you practice shooting here, in a panic, you fall back to your level of training. That's where you're going to aim instinctively. So aim instinctively here and here. Okay? Because when the shit hits the fan, that's where you'll automatically go to. Pop, pop. Two in the groin, one in the face. All right? Now, there's also if you're close, up underneath here. But if you're that close, yeah, you're already in a pickle. But everyone has armor. Most of our enemies have armor. Just saying. Crotch easier to hit than face. All depends on if you're sitting in a vehicle or not. Are they outside a vehicle? Are they inside a vehicle? Yeah. Just saying. So there's that. All right. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate all of you. Hope I didn't piss off too many of you tonight. But if I did, search your feelings and you'll find out that what I said is true. Okay? Reflect. Self-reflect. Self-reflect. Armor getting hard to come by. Yeah, it is. Thank you all for being here. Y'all have a good night, and God bless each and every one of you. I'm out.